Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fintech Combine. I am your host, Kris Kovacs, and this is the series where we talk with, and yes, sometimes about, community-based institutions, their digital and business transformation projects, and we meet the innovators, entrepreneurs, and fintechs that make it all possible. This is a very special episode of the Fintech Combine because we are actually going to be introducing a brand new podcast. Call it a crossover episode, if you will. One of the things that I've enjoyed in having conversations with leaders is the opportunities to learn. The reality, though, is that sometimes we need a dedicated space and a longer period of time for us to sit down with these thought leaders and really learn from them. That's the concept behind our new show, TFC Training Sessions. TFC Training Sessions are going to be long-form discussions with leaders in the industry who can help us learn about better ways of running our credit unions, better ways of reaching our communities, and better ways of making an impact. These are actually going to run under a different brand. Think of it like a mini series. It's not going to be something that comes out every 2 weeks, but when they do come, they may be multi-part, right? So we're very excited by this new concept. Thank you for sharing it with us today. So for this episode of the Fintech Combine, we actually are going to show you the very first episode of TFC Training Sessions. TFC Training Sessions are sponsored by Forum 52. Forum 52 brings credit union leaders together with the people and ideas shaping what's next. Through articles, videos, guides, discussions, and shared experiences, Forum 52 helps leaders learn what's working, understand what's changing, and apply those insights in their own credit unions. Forum 52. Learn from experience. Lead what's next. We are really excited to bring this new show to you. So if you're ready, let's line up. Training's about to begin. Scott, welcome to the very first TFC Training Sessions episode. Thank you for joining me. Why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and about your credit union connection?
So I've been a CEO at Connection Credit Union. We're about 40 million for 16 years as of yesterday, August 24th. I've been in the industry for 25 plus years and worked at 3 other credit unions, mostly smaller, one medium-sized one. But before that, I worked at a community bank. But it was interesting. It was the most credit union community bank you could ever find. And so that kind of set my... So when I moved into the credit union industry, it was really easy because I kind of had that collaborative mindset already.
Right.
And so we're the smallest credit union in our community. We're a community charter, but we only serve one county. And we've got about 3,500 members in that range. And we're just trying to, I would say, survive, but really figure out how to grow. You know, we are unique in that we are the smallest credit union, and we do things that others can't, won't, or don't do, especially when it comes to lending to people that really need the help. And I've done that at all my stops. You know, looking at people differently than how others look at them. I don't just look at a credit score. I look at something a lot deeper than that because, you know, I tell people all the time, we survive off the crumbs everyone else leaves. And that is literally the truth. And I'm perfectly okay with that because there's a lot of crumbs out there. And so the Banking Beyond Bars program is a big crumb. It's a really, 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 really big crumb. And we're just kind of getting started with it and have developed something that we think is pretty cool that we want to get the word out and help other credit unions maybe do something similar to that. So.
That's great. How did you identify this unique opportunity? Because, you know, I've been around 25 years myself, 35 years myself, and I've never heard of somebody particularly outreaching to this group. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, it was a really interesting story. I had a meeting with a guy named Daryl Riley, who is the co-founder of the Banking Beyond Bars program. He's a local entrepreneur, and we were meeting about, he hosts a financial, they call it a FinLit camp for youth, and was looking for credit union bank partners, someone to come in and kind of help with that. So we were talking about that. And then afterwards, he had mentioned that he's formerly incarcerated, and he was looking to find some bank or credit union to kind of help with that community. And he said he talked to all the other ones. Everyone else said no. And then I just that was at the very end of the meeting. And I just thought there's something there, because obviously we're looking for any opportunity we can to help and to grow, because, all the easy stuff is taken. And so literally within 24 hours, I had the bones of the Banking Beyond Bars program. And that was in January of 2023. And so then I knew it was a good idea at the time. And I have no experience with formerly incarcerated, but I have a ton of experience with helping people with less than perfect credit. And so I just thought, why don't if I could put something together, some education, financial education is at the heart of it. I think at the heart, I am a financial educator. I'm a credit union financial counselor. I love teaching. I love helping people understand all the game of money stuff. And I just thought, well, if I could do this, how would I do it? And how would I structure it? And so that's where we came up with the concept of it. And now that we've been doing it for 3.5 years, or had the idea for 3.5 years, probably 90% of the stuff that I had envisioned, like within 24 hours, is basically the same. So I view that as kind of a gift, kind of coming up with that and then being able to, really see it through. We're definitely a lot of challenges at the beginning, because my idea was, we had the program, the structure, the personnel to do all of it. All we needed was formerly incarcerated. And that was where it took 1.5 years to get the formerly incarcerated. Surprised me, working with a lot of the reentry nonprofits within the systems. Department of Corrections, I thought, it'd be great. Department of Corrections, work with them. And then when people release, come in straight into my program, sounds fantastic. Boy, that's a bureaucracy unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. So that was pretty quickly off the table. And part of the challenge was our field of membership. We only serve one county. And when people release, they kind of scatter wherever. We don't have we had a work release center, but no prisons. There is a women's prison, but it's in a different county. So again, challenges there, but doing some of the reentry simulations, working with some of the nonprofits and other organizations that are geared to help the reentry folks, and just got a lot of, not being allowed in that community. Yeah, it sounds great. And let's see if you can do something. And then just following up 5 and 6 times and not ever getting a response was kind of eye-opening for me. And so we just kept refining the program. I shared the program with a lot of people at the beginning, and just working the network just to kind of keep trying to make it better. And it continually got refined until the first group we had in the program, which was December of 2024, we had 9 people. And the only reason we got 9 was I had made a connection with one of the work release centers, one of the people that worked at Department of Corrections, that thought this was a great program, because it is a great program. And so she referred a few people. Daryl referred a few people, because in some of his businesses, he regularly hires formerly incarcerated. So that was what got our first 9. And since then, it's been on a roll. And it's been interesting that every single person that's come into the program has come from a referral from someone that's been through it. So we've done, since December 2024, we've done 15 groups. Each of those groups is anywhere from 5 to 15 people. And each group encompasses 3 classes, 3 after-hour classes at 6 o'clock on Wednesday at the credit union, after hours. And that's where I do the education. And we explain how the banking system works. And it's really interesting that every group has been the same, because they all come into the first class. A lot of them know each other, because one thing I've learned is that the referral abilities and how seriously they take referrals within the formerly incarcerated community is very impressive. They help each other. They refer people all the time. And so they kind of work within their own community. And so it's interesting. Every class has been the same. They all come in the first meeting, and everyone's kind of like not quite sure what to expect. But then I have Daryl kick it off. He has the lived experience that makes all the difference in the world. Because if you don't have that lived experience working with this community, you're automatically going to be not taken as seriously. But if you have that lived experience, and he lays it out there, he does not pull any punches. He drops F-bombs. But it really is like, this is a great opportunity for you all. Don't F it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of follow up with, because the first class is really, we break it in 3 classes. The first class is how the banking system really works. So I talk about banks and credit unions, the difference. And one of the points I really make is, if you go bad on this opportunity and you leave us hanging, then I want you to look at all the other people here and apologize to them, because that's who you're screwing. You're
Mm-hmm.
screwing the other people in this program. You're also potentially taking away this opportunity for future people to really get this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny, after Daryl does his spiel, and he talks about respect, treating us with respect, and because we treat them with respect.
Mm-hmm.
Then the walls come down, and then I start talking about the banking system, and I tell them, you're going to hear things that I'm going to tell you about how the banking system really works, based on my 30 years in the industry and helping a lot of people with less than perfect credit. About 12 years ago, we did a lot of subprime indirect lending. And we did a lot of it, and didn't last very long. NCUA, DFI came in, shut it down, but boy, I learned a lot. And I can look back at that time and look at the net yield of that, even with all the charge-offs.
Mm-hmm.
Our net yield on that portfolio was 10%. I'm like, crap, I'll take that all day. I'll take that
Mm-hmm.
all day long. So we clearly knew what we were doing. Yeah, we probably did too much too fast, which I would agree with that. But we learned a lot. And, I was the one approving the loans, because, again, we're a small shop. I'm the one ordering the repos. I'm the one
Right.
having to sell the collateral. So I got soup to nuts on lower tier indirect lending. And that's the hard part, but also the advantage of being a small credit union CEO is I'm involved in all of it. And I've always been more of a lending guy. So I'm heavily involved in lending,
Right.
and having to take the hard lessons on the charge-offs. But I learned a lot. And so the whole Banking Beyond Bars program is really based on my many years of experience in helping less than perfect credit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Rex Johnson fan. I went to Rex Johnson's class, and so I understood. So that's kind of, that helped me see it a little bit differently. But I've always been there to kind of find ways to help the people that need the help, because that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create loyalty. We're trying to create long-term members.
Right.
And we talk about the advantages of our credit union and working with, because when we talk about the banking system, we talk about banks and credit unions. We also talk about size.
Yeah.
And the advantages of a smaller institution when it comes to a program like this. And that's part of the reason why I trademarked the program. Was, one, I saw some of the nonprofits trying to do a direct ripoff of the program, but two, I want to protect the integrity of the program to make sure that whoever does this, they do it a certain way, because we've now proven that it works. It works really well. And so that was a really long-winded answer to your question. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's a great primer, right? One of the things I'm interested in is, to what do you attribute some of the unwillingness to work with the credit union from some of these other agencies and/or the Department of Corrections? And good Lord, that's just that's bureaucracy at its finest, right? But other organizations that are designed to help people were rebuffing your requests to get involved in. What's the source of that? What do you think causes that? Because that's probably something a lot of people run into when they have really great community ideas, is other well-intended people sometimes get in the way.
I think the biggest factor is I see too many of these nonprofits focus so much on making sure they get their grant money, that if they would take the credit union approach to grants, and we did this in Kitsap. We partnered with a bunch of other organizations, and we got a large grant because we did it together, because we all worked together on it. But a lot of these nonprofits, they don't have that mindset. They're like, I'm going to get mine, and we need to get our funding. And it's a competition that they have with each other. And I find that incredibly sad, because ultimately the people that need the help are not getting the help that they need. If the nonprofit community would do a better job of working together with other nonprofits that are maybe, okay, this nonprofit does this really well, this does this really well. Hey, why don't we join forces? They would be far more successful and have far more opportunities if they took that approach. But in this state, I don't see it. In this state, in this community, I mean, there's pockets of it, but
Mhm.
that's really sad. And it was really eye opening for me because I was the outsider. I was a threat to
Yeah.
potentially their grant funds because they looked at the program and I've got it all covered. I've got, and it really is focused on helping the people, get a solid financial foundation
Right.
and a solid financial future and a home-based financial relationship with it, which is our credit union,
Mhm.
and really getting them started with our credit card. Our credit card, and this is our standard credit card product. It's 13.5% fixed rate. You're not going to get in trouble with that credit card. We don't have any
Right.
penalty APRs. We don't have any higher rates than that. That's a great place to get started. And I'm
Yeah.
also vehemently opposed to secured credit cards. I look at it like we give you a $500 credit card. I don't want you to give me $500 and I earn interest on lending that money back to you. I'm like, if you go bad on that, that's going to hurt you worse than it's going to hurt us. And
Right.
that's always been my approach. And I did a lot of those $500 credit cards for the subprime indirect lending. A lot of people I gave a $500 credit card to, and the vast majority of those paid just fine.
Yep.
Yeah, you got a few, but yeah, okay, it's $500. Okay,
Right.
we can survive that. Again, it's going to hurt you worse than it's going to hurt us. So that's so one of the things that's come out of Banking Beyond Bars is really reaching out to the nonprofit community and helping them do things better. Because credit unions are the OGs of collaboration. We've been doing
Mhm.
it for a long time.
Yep.
Small credit unions, that's how we survive. Is we have to collaborate and we have to do things together. So I think the
Right.
nonprofit community could really benefit from us taking a more active role and getting out there and get, hey, why don't you do this part, you do this part, and then we kind of go in together on
Yeah.
a joint grant application. It'd be far more effective. But so far, I haven't cracked that nut yet. But that's really what it is. I find it sad because I thought for sure I'd have the first group ready to go in March of 2023, and it ended up being another year and a half
Mm.
after that until we finally got the first people in the program. And still, even since then, I haven't gotten any referrals from the reentry nonprofit communities, which is kind of sad. But now, because it was in the pilot program phase up until recently, we
Mhm.
wanted to get some experience with it, see how it worked.
Yeah.
Is it working? Are the people paying their loans? Are they staying on track? And so far, I've been blown away by how successful it has been. We've had 130 people go through the program in 15 different groups, and just the losses are virtually none.
Mhm.
And the loyalty that we've created with these individuals is off the charts, absolutely off the charts. And so that's what gives me hope, because that's all we're trying to do is create long-term loyal members. I don't
Mhm.
need a temporary member, an indirect loan that's a savings account and an auto loan. And as soon as the auto loan pays off, they're gone. That's not who
Right.
we are. We're never going to survive that way. So
So you had this inspiration. You were rebuffed by the local nonprofits who were there. What did your board say?
they always love the idea, because I've been very, very open and very transparent with them that this is a test and it may work and it may not work.
Mhm.
But that's one thing that they've always, I think, appreciated about me is I'm willing to try new things and try to, find ways to really grow. It's in our mission statement. One of the things in there is we want to serve the underserved, especially those not served by larger financial institutions. That's directly in our mission statement. And so this fits that really, really well. And so they've always, we've always been on the same page when it comes to helping people with less than perfect credit, the people that need a little help, and being willing to do that, because our credit union has done that for many, many, many years. I got a chance to visit last week with our CEO, who was CEO here from mid 70s until 2000. She retired in 2000. She's 90 years old. She lives in Indiana, but she was that way.
Mm.
And so I had that philosophy too. So I had drank the Kool-Aid for sure, but then getting, and she was on the supervisory committee when I took over. And she's never afraid to share her opinion with me, and
Mhm.
very, very, very much a credit union person. In fact, she was telling me the story that we were one of the very first in this state to do share drafts, and we were like 20 million at the time. And she was telling me everyone said, you're too small, it's too expensive, it's too complex. She said, we just did it anyway. And
Mhm.
then all these other credit unions, big credit unions, came and visited us and say, how did you do it? Like, we just did it. And so our credit union has had that kind of philosophy for many, many, many years. And so I just have kind of continued the tradition, and very, very open with the board, because that's one thing that I take really seriously, is because it's not my credit union. I'm just the steward running
Right.
the show, but it's really the board. And I'm the bridge between the board and the staff. And so, very open, very transparent, but also very realistic to say, if this doesn't work, we can pull a plug. We're not going to put a bunch of money into it um, until we know if it's going to work. And
Right.
and so they even what my board chair got his financial counselor designation too. He's also a certified board volunteer, but he
Mm-hmm.
also got his financial counselor designation, because
Hmm.
that's a really key part of the program. Is as soon as they complete the 3 classes, open an account with us, I assign a financial counselor to work with them for the next year.
Hmm.
And that's a heavy commitment on my
Yeah.
staff. And so right now I've got a staff of 14, and 9 are certified financial counselors.
Wow.
And because but there was a lot of trepidation, but I just knew that yeah, you get the education up front, but then real life hits.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get out in the world. And so budgeting, all that stuff, really kind of this guide. So we don't tell them what to do. We just guide them on good financial choices and budgeting, and overcoming the obstacles that are out there. That to me has been a really key part of it, is that financial counselor that's assigned to them. They don't always stay in contact with them, because how we set it up is, you have some heavy meetings, not heavy meetings, but more frequent meetings at the beginning of the program. And then as you
Mm.
kind of get more established, your feet underneath you, then those meetings kind of tail off a little bit.
Yeah.
First one's always in person, where they have to bring a written budget, because it's in my head. No, it's not the same. Written budget is different than a budget that's in your head, because you're more accountable to yourself with a written budget.
That's right.
um, and so again, that's another long-winded answer to your question. So I went off on a
No,
tangent
no,
again.
no. This is good. My next question was going to be about your staff. How has your staff responded to the program?
Well, I will say there was a lot of trepidation at the beginning, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of trepidation, because
And how
like,
did
we're
you
bringing.
negotiate that?
Well, I wanted people to be financial counselors, and I was always very, very, very involved. I teach all the classes.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm there, and so after a while, the first few months, there was just a a preconceived notion on what these individuals were. But one thing we noticed is, we've always been a melting pot. We're a
Mm-hmm.
small credit union. We serve a lot of different people. But after a while, people notice that they're just like our other regular members. We got some members that got some stuff going on. And so over time, it's kind of gradually kind of eased, because, you know, they've been at my credit union 3 times after hours. So that when they get in and we're giving them this opportunity, they're very appreciative of that opportunity. And they're not demanding. They're just
Mm-hmm.
thankful that someone is looking at them differently. Someone
Right.
cares. Someone has invested in them. And that goes a long way to how they work with the staff. And so the trepidation really kind of melted away pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And so another factor that's really helped is, a lot of the referrals have come from some of the drug-free houses that folks go into, and they have that structure and stability with those kind of group houses. That's
Mm.
helped a lot, because they have some stability in their lives. And so then this is adding more stability, because now we're getting some financial stability in addition to maybe the housing and the
Mm.
support stability. Um, and we're very popular with drug court. Because we have not marketed this program at all. The only way people could get into the program is they had to email me directly. No website, no
Right.
nothing. That's the only way that they could get in. So I would send them the full program, very open. I mean, it's a 20-page document. I make them read. This is everything that we're doing, because we're very open and very transparent on what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because there's a lot of distrust, and there's a lot of biases against formerly incarcerated. I even had one guy in the last class. He was applying for an apartment, and one of the questions on the lease was, "Have you been convicted of a felony in the last 30 years?" Like, 30? Do you really need to
30?
go back 30 years on that? So just the barriers that they face. And so now that I've been
Right.
doing it for a while, um, have developed a connection with this community and with the folks in the program, because when they come in, they always come in and say hi to me.
Right.
And I appreciate that, because again, that's what makes this different, that they can walk back when they come into the credit union, walk back to the CEO's office and say hi, and that be
Yeah.
okay. And so I love it, because that's one part about being a CEO that I miss, is just a regular interaction with the members. And so these are my group of people, because I kind of taught them, and I kind
Yep.
of view them as my students. And so it's developed, and the staff sees that. And so now that they're working with the people, and they're seeing some of the progress, and seeing some of the excitement that people's credit scores are improving and they're getting stability. And so, yeah, it's been, but it took a while. One of the things I tell them in the very first class is, I don't want to know what you were in for. Don't want to know. Do not want to know. But some of my staff does, because they're serving them. And I'm just like, at first I was like, no, you don't need to know. But then, you know what, if it helps them feel more comfortable with serving this demographic, then
Sure.
have at it. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Because again, I tell them, we're looking forward, we're not looking back. And that's kind of where we add the positive self-talk piece of it, because there's 3 key tenets of the program. And I lead off with this: is I'm not a victim, I'm accountable, and positive self-talk. Because those three things, in my experience, if you do those 3 things when it comes to your financial life, you're going to be more successful. And it's really simple. It's really straightforward. I hammer it. I got posters on the wall, reiterating and reinforcing those 3 key concepts all the time. And so I think that they appreciate that. But yeah, it was a little bit of trepidation at first, but it's since, definitely, now it's just part of who we are. It's part of our credit union. These are now our regular members. We treat them just like regular members. So yeah, there was definitely some trepidation at first, though. It's just the unknown, really.
Right.
And I had a couple people that wanted no part of it. And like, that's okay. If you don't want to be a part of it, that is okay. We have others that do want to be a part of it, that do appreciate this opportunity to be able to help people in a really unique way, in a really a more personal way than oftentimes they're seeing, with some of the other members that we have that think they all have it all figured out. These guys don't. They appreciate the advice, they appreciate the guidance, they're willing to listen, and that's refreshing in a lot of ways.
So you mentioned drug court. People aren't being sentenced to your program, are they?
No, but the judge will recommend people to my program on a regular basis. When we were even in there, and like I said, I've not met anyone at drug court, but it's come up so much over the last year and a half that they see this as a really positive thing for the individuals that have to go through drug court. So it was kind of a nice little byproduct of what we're doing, is that we're getting these community referrals, and we've not tried to nurture those community referrals yet. We are in the process of, now we want to start getting the word out. And now I'm going back to those reentry nonprofits, because now, you know what, I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I got 130 people. So you cannot pay attention and you can dismiss me, but you're missing out, because the people that you have could really benefit from this program. I was really surprised when I first started it. I did not find any other bank or credit union doing anything like it. And I looked hard. I found a couple credit unions doing something inside the system, but not like how I had envisioned it. I had envisioned, as soon as they come into this program, and we do the 3 classes, open a checking and savings account after a month and they're working, because these are regular loans. They're not special loans. Except for the auto loan is a little bit special, because we call it a starter auto loan. And that's a $10,000, 10% interest, 60-month term, and GPS units. I used a ton of those GPS units back when I was doing the subprime indirect. And I swear by them, because they are a great accountability tool. I just tell them, hey, this is one of our key tenets, accountability. Well, a GPS unit in your car is an accountability piece. And it's a non-negotiable. We do it on all of them, but we frame that auto loan as it's the starter auto loan. And the reason we
Right.
say that is if you do this right, you get a good deal on this car. And we spend quite a bit of time in the third class talking about how to buy a car. Because that's one of my favorite things to talk about is how to negotiate at a dealership, and all the dirty tricks. Because with all the indirect lending I've done over the years, I've seen a lot of really, really crappy car deals. And I want to help people get a good deal, because if I tell them, look at this as your purchase for the next auto loan. If you get a good deal, you pay on it for a couple of years. This is your down payment for the next car. So don't look at this as like, oh, it's only $10,000. No, this is your starting in the game. And you're going to play the game the right way now, because now you know what you're doing, and now you know how to buy a car. And so you're going to get a fair interest rate on this. It's going to be 10%. It might be lower if you've got a decent credit score, but it won't be higher than 10%. But use this, and then maybe in a couple of years, this is your down payment for the next car. So that's how you play the game. Is you're not thinking just this auto loan purchase, you're looking at the next one after this auto loan purchase. Again, that's playing the game. We frame it all, it's just a game of money. First class is the game board. The second class is your character in the game. And the third class is how to play the game. And that's where credit comes in. The second class, we play a game called Money Habitudes. Highly, highly, highly recommend this. This was, again, a referral from someone I got. We give them all a deck of cards, and we have them understand their habits and attitude towards money, which is often rooted in childhood. And it's very eye-opening for the participants, because that's the second one. Is you got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, where your blind spots are. In order for you to be successful in this game, you got to understand that. And so that's really what the second class is about. Is really about your character in this game of money. And the third one is how do you play it.
And you created all of this.
Yeah.
From scratch.
Yes, but I also shared it with a lot of people. That's one thing I have done as a CEO, is I reach out to, I work with a lot of other CEOs, and so I've shared this with a lot of people. There's some CEOs that I really valued. I got one of the biggest benefits from my examiner, of all places. I was telling him about it very beginning of the program, and he's like, okay, you need to talk to my wife. I was like, what? Your wife? Why your wife? Well, his wife has done a lot of research. She works for Kansas State now. Done a lot of research on financial literacy inside the prison system. And so she gave me a lot of really good ideas. She's the one that gave me the Money Habitudes idea. So yeah, I had the basic bones of it, but I shared it with a lot of people as a way to just kind of refine it, and like, hey, what am I missing here? Where are things? And some other CEOs that I've worked with over the years that I know that are also heavily involved in serving the underserved. Like, okay, how would you do this if you could, have these three classes? So we never looked at it like, oh, this is formerly incarcerated. We looked at it like these individuals need to understand how to be successful. We want them to be members. We want to be able to lend to them. So if we're going to educate them, how would we do it? And the game of money is something that I've used in the financial literacy in the schools. When we've had the opportunities to do that, it's a game, because money is a game. It's a game of one-on-one, and far too many people start comparing themselves to others. But ultimately, it's a game of money, one-on-one, you and money. That's it. And break it down for them to really kind of help them understand, because I get so tired of seeing people make so many bad financial decisions, especially our younger members, because they don't have the education. It's really education, and they're really getting sucked into these, looks like a great offer, and oh, it's not a great offer. And so that's one of the sessions we talk about in the last class. We call it Beware the Tricky. These credit card offers, these offers that sound too good to be true, all the online stuff now. So just help them really navigate all aspects of the game, and really give them hopefully what we think is confidence to really go out there and be successful. So I had the initial concept and the idea based on my experiences, but I shared it with a lot of people and got a lot of feedback from others that have been heavily involved in helping underserved individuals. So
it's funny, Scott, this sounds so familiar to some of the entrepreneurial journeys that I would talk about with fintechs on the Fintech Combine, right? It's this idea that I have an idea, and I'm constantly reworking it over and over and over again until I find product market fit, which is what you've done. right? And now you're able to start really running with it. So it is that process of learning and sharing isn't giving away your idea, it's giving the opportunity to get input that betters your idea.
Absolutely. Because my goal on this program is not to dominate the world, it's to share it with other, preferably smaller credit unions in communities that desperately need it. And that's
Yeah.
why we trademark it, because I'm proving the concept works. There's a lot of need out there, and there's a lot of small credit unions that are really hurting for members.
Right.
And we are perfect for this. We are absolutely perfect for this, because we have the capacity, we have the knowledge. They're going to do it like I do it. A lot of the smaller credit unions out there, they survive off the crumbs everyone else leaves. So part of this is my, desire to help other small credit unions, because I do a lot in that space as well. But this is kind of a way that, maybe it's a gift to some other smaller credit unions that they can help grow loans and members and really be impactful in people's lives. That's why we do this. I don't do it for any glory, that's for sure. I don't do it for the money, that's for sure.
Right.
Because being a credit union my size, it's just not there.
Right.
But the work, I do it for the work. I do it for the impact I can have on people's lives, and that keeps me motivated and keeps me going. And so, but yeah, you're right. It is an entrepreneurial journey for sure.
It really is.
Because
It really is.
I've always been a learning, I have to be constantly learning all the time. Otherwise I'm in trouble. And
Right.
this has provided a really good opportunity to do that. Because again, learning about this community, learning about how we can adapt it, and learning about how we can help. And then now where I can share it with other credit unions, and if they want to adopt it. So I've got a couple in Washington that are seriously considering doing it next year. I'm excited about that. We will provide the support because, I had the idea and have been doing the classes, but I hired someone at the beginning of the year that really had a passion for the infrastructure. And her and another one of my staff members have just done a fantastic job in building all the building blocks, all the guides, all the classes, and just all the materials that we really need to really, take it beyond the borders of Kitsap County, Washington, because that is really our vision for it. We had talked about maybe expanding our field of membership to the whole state, like most credit unions have that. We're very unique in our state that
Right.
we're a true credit union. I look at it like we got 3,500 members. There's 275,000 people live in Kitsap County. There's plenty of opportunities for me right here.
Yeah.
I don't have to be in all corners of the state. We got one branch. So I would much rather, and we had talked about expanding so we can grow the program across the state. That would allow us to work with Department of Corrections. But what I recognize is after doing it for a while, that local branch that you can go into is incredibly important. That physical location that you can go in and have an in-person conversation with someone is a key success factor. Online can never replicate that. We do have, we partner with Eltropy. We've got online appointments and video appointments and all that stuff, which we utilize. We utilize texting a lot. So that is there, but initially it's really in person, because again, that's where you can have real conversations with real people. And to me, if you're going to have someone improve their financial life, you got to be real. You got to be real. You got to be direct. And there's no way to do that except for in person. The small credit unions are the absolute best at that. That is what we win. We win every single time with that. So that's why it's such a great opportunity for, I think, for our credit union and other small credit unions to do something similar to this, like this, because I see another opportunity with, the nonprofit community, especially with the homeless, people that are right on the verge of homelessness. They go out and they reach out for help at a nonprofit, and they say, "Oh, you're not bad enough yet. So come back when you're worse." Okay. Does that really help them? How about a referral to someone that might be able to look at them differently and look at, maybe let's take a look at your finances and let's do it in person and getting real with what you need to do to kind of get more financial stability. There's huge potential there. There's huge potential with that. So it's just kind of taking the same stuff I'm doing with Banking Beyond Bars and doing it for that community, because it's really no different. So again, that was another long-winded answer. Sorry.
I'm struck by the loyalty that you must generate, right? By putting this olive branch out there to these men and women, right? And it's got to be phenomenal. I mean, it's when where else would they go besides connection? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would come to you every time, right? For a
Yeah.
question, for a concern, for an opportunity, right? That really is fantastic. What do you think the future holds for the program?
I'd love to see it in every community across the state. I'd love to
Mm,
see this be adopted in wherever there's a need for it, to have a small credit union willing to adopt it and essentially do our program. Again, the key piece of it is the education, helping
hmm.
educate them on how the game works, how the system really, really, really works.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I really hammer on in the first class is how the banking system works. And people are treated the way that they're treated, not because of what they think it is. It's really
Mm,
sales and sales incentives. That has
hmm.
gotten far too prevalent.
Yep.
And unfortunately, some of the big banks, and I bash on some of the big banks and their sales approach. And essentially, if you don't have a 680 credit score and you're coming into a big bank, some big banks, it's just a no. They are not
Yeah.
interested in you just because of your credit score. It's too much work for not enough money.
Yeah.
And I use the example is, a loan officer goes to lunch and he comes back. He's got two people waiting for him. One guy's looking for his first credit card to get started. Another one's looking for a $50,000 auto loan. He is going to go to the auto loan every single time because his compensation is based on it. And that's one of the things that makes us unique is we don't have any sales incentives. And
Mm,
that allows us, and I talk about this heavily because that's really why people are treated the way that they're treated is sales incentives. I am vehemently opposed to them for product sales. I mean, I'm not going to bash
yeah.
on all of them because I know a lot of credit unions have sales incentives,
Sure.
but product sales incentives is why people are often denied and not treated the way that they might expect to be treated. And the larger the institution, the more layers you got to navigate, the harder it is to get outside that buy box. I tell people our buy box is really malleable, it's really
Mm,
flexible. Whereas the bigger you get, that box is rigid. It's hard. You
right.
can't go. You got to put your
Harder and harder.
reputation on the line to go outside that buy box. They're not going to do that. Whereas for us, it's like, well, loan officers, maybe let's go talk to me and like, okay, let's kind of talk through it. How can we figure out a way to do this loan? The
Okay.
smaller, much more flexible when it comes to lending. And we explain that because what we tell people is like, wherever you end up, yeah, you're here now, but maybe you move to Washington, D.C. Go find the smallest and most local credit union. They're going to do it like we do. That's the financial relationship. You need to have one of those. Yeah, don't lose our financial relationship because we're your home base. We gave you your
Yeah.
first credit card. The longer you have that credit card, the more value it has because we look at that when it comes to lending decisions.
Right.
One of the first things I ask my loan officer, how long have they been a member? How many
Mm,
loans have they had with us? If they've had some length of membership and some loans, the chances of go way up because why
yeah.
wouldn't we do that? That's who built our credit union. And
Right.
so that approach is oftentimes missing. And so we tell them go out and find the smallest, most local credit union because that's that financial
Mm,
relationship that you need locally. And it's really that you can go talk to someone. They're not going to force you to do it on the phone. You can go talk to someone because when it comes to improving your financial life and you've had bad credit, that those real conversations with people face to face are far more effective than anything else. So
When I asked you about the future of the program, you said every community across the state,
country.
country. So there's no limiting factor, right?
Nope.
If there was a small credit union here in North Carolina that was interested in it, you would engage with them and share the playbook with
Absolutely.
them.
Absolutely. We're very open. We're very, very transparent because all we've done is just package it a kind of a different way,
Right.
added some edginess to it, because
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing that Daryl Riley gave the program is
Mm,
when we first did it. Um, I shared all the content we were going. It's like it's good. It's just there's no seasoning. It's
mm.
bland, and so I tried it with a different group and because I am very passionate about finance. And so I got worked up about it and I was
Right.
passionate about it. And boy, it made a difference
Yeah.
because usually you do these financial literacy classes and people are, yeah, they're paying attention. But when you get animated and when you're passionate about it, they start paying attention. And
100%.
that made a huge difference. So
Right.
we call our financial education, we call it with seasoning.
With
And that's where our personalities come out. And that's where we allow our passion to come out. because it makes a difference on whether they're paying attention. And I can tell you in this group, with these groups, it's happened every single time. Of all the 15 groups, they come in all just kind of not sure, and then Daryl does his spiel, and then I'm getting animated, especially about the sales campaign. Like, we don't do any sales incentives here because that's not genuine and that's not real, and that's why you're treated the way you are. But afterwards, the walls come down. They are all shaking hands, and so I asked, "Okay, what'd you think?" And they said, "It was really good. It was a lot more intense than I thought." I'm like, "That is the best feedback I could ever get. Is way more intense than I thought," because then they're paying attention. You know what? If it's the bland stuff, because financial literacy is bland for a lot of people, we've just kind of tried to spice it up in different ways, and make it more real. But it's over 15 groups. It's proven over and over. Every single one has been the same. They all, after the first one, they are paying attention. They are listening. They are asking questions. They are engaged. And that is rare. Getting engagement in financial literacy is rare these days. And so that's why I'm so excited about the program, because we've clearly figured something out that's working with this group. It can work with a lot of other groups too, but this group in particular, there is such a huge need across the country for people that are coming out of incarceration, someone to look at them different and not just judge them on their past, but give them a chance to build a better future. And that's exciting and that's fun. And to see success in that it's why I do what I do. That's why I love being the CEO, because I can kind of direct that and control that. And a lot of people were like, are you crazy? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, but I want to try it and see if it'll work. And so far it has. But one of the really interesting pieces was people that have been convicted of a financial crime. And how do you handle that? And at first we were like, hell no, we're not doing that. And that's just giving putting an arsonist in the candle factory, and at first we were like, no, hell no. And then I was at a nonprofit reentry simulation. All the nonprofits are there, and I was sharing my program. They were all excited. And then I mentioned that piece. That the only restriction is you've been convicted of a financial crime. And for the next 30 minutes, all the nonprofits started attacking me. Like, how can you do that? That's not fair. And I was stunned afterwards at just the animosity towards me, that how could I add that restriction in there? I'm like, I'm a financial institution. I can do what I want, especially when it comes to me opening accounts and taking the risk. But what I've learned is we've been a little softer on that one, because oftentimes what we've learned is the financial crimes is the byproduct of a bigger problem, which is usually drugs. And so we've taken some chances. We just say, we just got to have a conversation with you first before we allow you in. So we have allowed most of them in, even though they have a previous financial crime conviction. But oftentimes, again, it's related to something else than it is them, being habitual financial crimes committers. It's really the byproduct of a drug problem. If they've got that under control, then they're not going to steal. And frankly, I think them screwing us, chances are pretty low, honestly, because we gave them a chance when no one else would. So I think our risk on there is actually really quite low. But that was something that we've been debating, at the beginning. If people had been convicted of a financial crime, pretty much everyone else was like, well, hell no. I'm like, first I was hell no, but now I'm like, you know what? As I've learned more about the community and the challenges, and I've gotten a little softer on it, and we're definitely more flexible with that one.
So you have changed lives with this program. How has it changed you?
I am much more, I've always been one that when people tell me no, I'm like, watch me. Because I love that. I love being the underdog. That's why I love running a small credit union. I'm clearly the underdog. I don't have the resources. So this fits with that. This fits with our credit union. We've been doing this for many years. We've helped a lot of formerly incarcerated people. We just have never called it that. And then to see the ability to have the impact just makes me want to do more of it, and want to really help other small credit unions, because I don't like what I'm seeing in the industry. I don't like the lack of support for small credit unions. And that's another thing that I'm really passionate about is helping smaller credit unions. Started a QSO to do it. And so what I'm finding is that the Banking Beyond Bars program and Seize Unite, which is our QSO, and then the credit union, all those three feed off of each other, and give me energy to do all three. And, I'm at the point in my career where I got more years behind me than in front of me. And so with succession planning, we've kind of talked about that. I could much more easily give up running the credit union than I could give up Banking Beyond Bars or give up Seize Unite, because those two things they're kind of my babies, and I want to see them through, and I want to see them be successful. And so I just kind of look at it like that. It's really purpose-driven work. I love helping people, and I love helping educate people to make good financial choices and seeing them be successful. The loyalty it creates, it just fills your cup. And so the more of that I can do, helps me deal with all the other crap like fraud and all the other competition and all that stuff that I'm not really a fan of, and audits and exams and all the things. This gives me energy to do all of that. And so I just want to see it grow, because I know it's a good program. I've kind of proven now that it can work. And so now I'm excited to take it to the next level and help other credit unions adopt it. Like I said, I prefer the small, but smalls aren't everywhere. And there might be a community that you've got a credit union that's really mission driven. I'm not going to be exclusively small, but I want to give the smaller ones the opportunity, because right now we get the shaft. We don't get the opportunities. And so I want something to help the smaller credit unions across, starting with this state, growing it very grassroots, very organically, because to me, that's the only way to do it. If you're going to do it right, you got to do it small, organic, grassroots. That's how our industry got started. And the reality is that stuff still works. And we're proving that it still works. And so, yeah, that would be another long-winded answer.
If a credit union is interested, Scott, in learning more about the program and interested in potentially bringing it to their community, how do they get in touch with you?
Just send me an email and I will respond. And we have a website now too, bankingbeyondbars.com.
There you go.
And we're also working a program called Banking Behind Bars, which is what we've wanted to do for a while, which is this same education inside the system. And we actually have a meeting in September with 3 other credit unions where we're going to the women's prison, and we're taking this Banking Beyond Bars program, and we're doing it behind bars. We got invited in by the Black Prisoners Caucus, and we're excited for that opportunity, because if we can kind of educate them while they're in there, then as soon as they get out, then they got a place to go. They got 3 credit unions to choose from, whether you're in Pierce or Kitsap or Mason County or wherever. There's an opportunity for them to find a small and local credit union that really can kind of help them make it a reality. So
it's really amazing. Scott, I appreciate you sharing this amazing story with us and with our credit unions. Really very inspiring. I truly hope and think this is something that could continue to change lives. So congratulations on I guess having the guts to go out and do something different, right? To face the challenges of working with, disinterested nonprofits, and to overcome that, to work with your team, to work with your board, says a lot about you, says a lot about your board, says a lot about your employees. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I love being the underdog. And when people say I can't do something, I just but I knew this was a good idea, and I knew it's something that was desperately needed. And it was just overcoming the challenges and staying focused on it. And because again, I wanted to prove, did it work or not? It might not have worked. But I'm glad that it has, and I'm excited for the future of it, and excited to work with other credit unions to, bring what we've built, and we're willing to share, because again, we're a credit union. We don't compete with anybody. We don't compete with any other credit unions. I've never viewed any other credit union as competition. So we will share everything. Because we've always done that as a credit union. I've always done that because we're stronger together. And so if anyone's interested, we got a website, you can email me. I'm happy to share it, everything that we've done, and in the hopes that we can, help more people, because there's a lot of people out there that need us. They just don't know about us. And so this is a good way to find those and just give them the experience when they really need it. And we trust that they'll remember us for a long time, because we gave them the start. We gave them the education, the knowledge to be successful. And after they, get to be successful. Hopefully they remember where they came from. We think that they will for sure.
It's awesome. Thank you very much, Scott.
Awesome.
What an absolutely amazing and inspiring story. And I'm so thankful that he decided to share that with us as part of our very first TFC Training Sessions episodes. If you like this content, please like and subscribe on your platform of choice. Please look at bankingbeyondbars.com if you're interested in bringing this program to your community. Thank you for being here. We will see you next time.